Well, the Road Traffic Management Corporation says over 190,000 traffic fines have been issued since the 1st of December. At the same time, 4,400 drivers have been arrested for various traffic violations, including drunk driving and speeding. For more on this, we're joined by RTMC spokesperson Simon Zwane. Simon, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us this morning. It's been a long festive season, but almost 200,000 traffic fines issued. Where are the major violations taking place?
Well, the major violations have taken place in all provinces, but particularly the provinces that attract the highest number of visitors, like KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, the Western Cape. That's where, and even in Gauteng, because even as people leave Gauteng, there's quite a high number of people who remain behind. So even in Gauteng, there's been a high number of people that were caught violating the rules of the road, including Limpopo.
And what sort of behaviors were you seeing in your observation with all of these traffic fines? I mean, I mentioned some speeding, but I understand some drunk driving as well in relation to those motorists who were actually arrested.
Yes, there's also been drunk driving, speeding. There have been people who were driving without driving licenses. I mean, they don't have driving licenses at all, but they were driving cars. And there's reckless and negligent driving. There was a high number of public transport drivers who were driving vehicles without the proper permits. That means they will take passengers and take them into routes for which they are not permitted, into areas and where they are not permitted, and they were also arrested for that. And in some cases, the cars were impounded for violating their permit regulations.
Now, in terms of following up with these traffic fines, Simon, what is the protocol moving forward? Because oftentimes you see, motorists rack up, a long list of traffic fines, never really attend to them, and it sort of becomes a habit, really, this reckless driving with no consequences, with no accountability. What's the process that we can expect once these fines are actually issued?
And, I should have also added that indeed there were a sizable number of motorists who were arrested who had previous traffic fines that they had ignored to pay. So the warrants of execution were served on them. So there will be follow-ups. There will be in the roadblocks that are going to continue throughout the year. Because remember, this is the campaign we are undertaking is not only for the festive season. We undertake this throughout the year. We simply heighten it over the festive season. So those warrants will still be served on the people who choose to ignore them.
Yeah. Well, we know that holidaymakers are making their way back home from their various destinations, many of them returning to Gauteng, different destinations, Pretoria, Johannesburg. I understand that on the N1 at the Pumlani Plaza, some 2,400 vehicles were passing through that plaza an hour at some point. What sort of traffic volumes can we expect today and for the remainder of the week?
Yeah, we think today we might see the last peak in traffic volumes because we have seen the first wave of people coming back on the 27th of December and throughout last week, and yesterday was another peak. So we expect that today we might see not up to 2,400 as it did yesterday maybe, but maybe above 1,500 cars an hour coming in from the N1, even from the N3, and some smaller number, maybe 800 vehicles an hour coming in from Mpumalanga on 12 and the N4 from the northwest. There will be some cars coming.
Yeah. Now we know, Simon, that generally when there's this much congestion on the roads that we often see an uptick when it comes to road crashes and fatalities. In your observation, how have South Africa's roads fared in this festive season when it comes to, road traffic accidents and casualties?
Well, we think we have done better this year. We say that simply because we have not seen major crashes where 5 or more people have died in one incident. So we think that will bring us below the numbers from previous years. But we are still concerned about pedestrians. We've seen high number of pedestrians being knocked down by vehicles simply because of alcohol intake and people turning every space in the townships into a picnic spot, and often that has been happening closer to busy roads, and people have been walking around under the influence of alcohol even at night, which is a very high risk. So, and they've been crossing freeways. In some instances, we found people trying to cross freeways when they were under the influence of alcohol. So those factors still worry us, but we think that we'll see an improvement this year.
Yeah. Now, if we can call that a success story, I think part of what's owed to it is the fact that this year we did see a deployment of more officers on the ground. We also saw an increase in the setting up of speed traps. Talk to us about that strategy and how you think it has assisted, in your words, to bring down the number of casualties and road accidents that we often see annually during this festive season.
Yes, the high traffic police visibility has assisted us a great deal, and the number of roadblocks that were held. We've been working with the police, also the SAPS on this, and other and municipal police, and they've all come to the party and made sure that we are as visible as possible and we can identify those people who are transgressing. But part of the strategy also included that we identify these overloaded buggies before they leave the places of origin. So the whole of Johannesburg, those people were stopped, the loads were reduced, and they were given fines even before they left. And I saw that happening also in Ekuru Lane. So that also assisted, because then we don't have these cars that are under massive pressure on the roads. And we also paid attention to trucks. Trucks were stopped, checked for roadworthiness and stuff. And so although we saw some shocking things of some truck drivers driving under the influence of alcohol, but it assisted. It is a result of that we saw that there were no incidents on the N3 around Pietermaritzburg,
right,
where previously in November and stuff we had been seeing a high number of crashes. Right. But also the N2 in Pongolo was stabilized. So yeah, and we saw the freight industry also coming in to assist in the campaign to ensure that the drivers are behaving appropriately on the road, and that all those efforts assisted.
Right. Well, Simon, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for coming on to the program and providing us with that update. That's the Road Traffic Management Corporation's Simon Zwane. Up next.